Business tycoon Cheyenne Carter caught in bed with her driver. The headline hit Orange County like a bomb. By the time Cheyenne and Lucas stumbled out of the hotel, the world was already waiting for them. Camera flashes exploded. Reporters swarmed around with questions. Was it a business deal or a cheap thrill? One asked. Lucas, how much did she pay you to keep quiet? Another chimed. Did she tip you before or after the night? One more attacked. Laughter cut through the chaos. Security struggled to hold back the crowd. Cheyenne's face drained of color as her carefully built empire crumbled. Lucas, once nobody, now branded a disgrace, stared at his reflection in the lenses. Humiliation burned deep, igniting a fire for revenge. One day, he would rise high enough to protect himself and the woman he loved. 6 years later, he had kept his promise. He became the man Cheyenne deserved, and now he was returning home. Captain, are you sure about this? Jordan mumbled as his voice got emotional.
Lucas turned to look at the camp one last time, at the people waving goodbye. He had spent 6 long years here. In that time, after surviving danger again and again, Lucas had gone from being a new recruit to a respected general. A small smile appeared on his face. Every story has to end somewhere, Jordan, and my story with this camp ends today, he said, closing the helicopter door. It was now time for him to meet his wife, for whom he had worked so hard all these years. The helicopter headed south toward the nearest airport. When they landed, Jordan said his goodbyes, while Lucas pushed his way through the crowded Orange County International Airport. The place was loud, busy, and full of travelers pulling suitcases and rushing in every direction. The first thing he did was head to the mall just outside to grab something to eat. 2 burritos, please, Lucas said to the person at the counter when he felt something tugging on his sleeves. He looked down, confused, only to find a little girl standing there, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I want my mommy, the girl mumbled, looking everywhere. But the moment she saw Lucas, she called, Daddy! Lucas froze. Why was this kid calling him Daddy? He crouched down, gently brushing the girl's hair away from her face. I'm not your dad, sweetheart, he said in a calm, soft voice. Did you get separated from your parents? I can help you find them. Upon hearing his words, the girl started crying. His heart ached while he tried to calm her down. The girl looked a lot like him when he was a kid, and for some reason, her presence warmed Lucas's heart. He felt like she was his daughter. It took a lot of patience and time, but he finally managed to calm her down and bring her to the airport's customer service desk. He explained that she was lost and stayed until the staff promised to help before heading out. He felt a strange protectiveness for her. He didn't want to leave her like that. It was odd how that little girl resembled him and his wife. Maybe that's why he was feeling so drawn to her. Nonetheless, he left. As he stepped out of the mall, 8 tall men in sharp suits walked right up to Lucas and stopped in front of him. People nearby started to notice. All eyes turned toward them. Lucas didn't move. He raised an eyebrow and waited. One of the men stepped aside, and an older man in a tidy suit took his place. He looked like a rich, powerful person. Someone used to being obeyed. He walked straight to Lucas and without a second's hesitation, bowed. My name is Chad Kennedy, the man said quietly. I'm the head butler for the Hutton family. I've come to take you back to Washington, D.C. Lucas's face hardened instantly. The Huttons remember me? That's surprising, because the last time I checked, they threw my mother and me out 20 years ago. What changed? Did the whole family drop dead? Kennedy didn't answer right away. He knew the Huttons had been cruel to him. He gave a tired sigh and tried to reason with Lucas. Times have changed, Kennedy said. Mr. Hutton is dying. He wants his children and grandchildren around. You share the Hutton blood, Lucas. My name is Gray, not Hutton. Lucas cut him off. His voice was steady and cold. And if that's all you wanted to say, I have better things to do. Lucas turned to walk away. Kennedy hurried forward and blocked his path. Mr. Gray, please. Kennedy reached behind and handed Lucas a locked briefcase. He set it gently into Lucas's hands like it was something sacred. This contains the documents and equity transfer for Orion Global. Kennedy said. "It belonged to your mother. The Huttons want you to have it. Consider this as compensation." "Compensation?" Lucas let out a cold, humorless laugh. "My mother built Orion Global. The Huttons stole it. And now you hand me this like it's charity? Don't test me. Push me again, and I'll tear your empire apart." With that, Lucas walked away. Kennedy's face closed into something hard and serious. Lucas got inside the car that was waiting for him and ordered the driver to take him to the Carter residence. Lucas stood at the old courtyard gate, the place he once called home. His heart thudded harder than it ever had on any battlefield. He had faced enemies without fear, but standing here, wondering what Cheyenne thought of him, after all these years, felt far worse. Lucas's hand went to his jacket. He pulled out an old pocket watch. Inside was a small, faded photograph of a woman, taken 6 years ago. Cheyenne Carter. The memory of her voice, her beautiful face, and her determination was still clear in his mind. Back then, he was her driver, and she was an academic genius. She had just graduated from college, ready to change the world. That's when she built the Brilliance Corporation from the ground up, becoming the youngest CEO in the country. But soon, her reputation took a hit. It wasn't his fault, but he left so that she could live peacefully. The guilt of leaving her without saying goodbye had troubled him ever since. Lucas shook his head, trying to calm the nervous flutter, but just as he stepped forward to knock, laughter drifted out from inside. "Mr. Miller, since you're so serious about Cheyenne, let's not waste time. Let's set a date for the wedding." Lucas went still. He knew that voice too well. It was Karen, Cheyenne's mother. "Please, Mrs. Carter," another man said in a polite and confident tone. "Just call me Seth. We'll be family soon." "Oh, Seth, you're so sweet. Cheyenne is lucky to have found a gentleman like you. As her parents, we can finally relax." The bliss in Karen's voice was evident. Lucas's jaw tightened. Every word felt like a slap. "But what about her husband?" Seth asked casually. Karen let out a harsh laugh. "You mean that useless excuse of a man? He vanished 6 years ago. He's probably lying dead in some gutter. We can just go to the courthouse and get a death certificate if you want." Lucas didn't feel his heartbeat anymore. Everything inside him went cold. He had returned for Cheyenne, hoping to stand before her with pride. Instead, he was listening to her family erase him like he had never existed. "But I am still alive, Mother. We don't need that death certificate anymore." Karen's smile vanished the moment she heard the words. She turned around and found Lucas standing in the doorway. "You?" She stood up. "I'm back, Karen," Lucas said. Her expression snapped into fury. "How dare you say my name, you filthy stray? It's Mrs. Carter to you. Didn't your dead mother teach you any respect?" The words hit like a blade. Lucas's fists clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. He forced himself to breathe. He wouldn't stoop to her level, not when Cheyenne was involved. "What? Are you going to hit me now?" Karen sneered, stepping closer. "You're like a walking bad luck. Everything was going well for us until you crawled back. You just can't stand to see my daughter happy, can you?" "What's happening?" Cheyenne's father stepped out, frowning. When he saw Lucas, his eyes burned with rage. Without hesitation, he charged forward and threw a punch. "You worthless piece of trash! How dare you show your face here? Don't make us look cheap because of this lowlife. Get in properly!" She spat, turning to Lucas. "Since you're so desperate to show your face, go ahead. Let everyone see the failure who crawled back from nowhere." Cheyenne's father scoffed loudly, glaring at Lucas like he was dirt under his shoe. The Carter living room was loud, crowded, and full of fake smiles. More than 10 relatives had gathered, chatting excitedly, probably celebrating Cheyenne's new beginning. But the moment Lucas came into proper view, the room shifted, conversations cut off, heads turned, eyes widened. "Wait, isn't that the useless husband Cheyenne married?" one relative said under their breath. "No wonder he is back now. Men like him just disappear and show up when there's money involved." Someone else snickered. "He must have heard she's marrying Mr. Miller. Now he's back to leech off the family again," another added. Lucas's gaze swept across the room. He recognized some faces. Those were the people who had mocked him before. Others were new, judging him like they already knew his worth. In the center of the couch sat Seth Miller, well-groomed, polished, clearly proud of his expensive watch and the ring he made sure everyone noticed. He didn't stand. He just stared at Lucas like he was some stray dog that had wandered in. Karen crossed her arms, clearly annoyed. We don't have time to entertain trash, but since you're here, we can get this over with faster. Once Cheyenne is back, you two can sign the divorce papers. Lucas's expression didn't move. He stood straight and spoke without raising his voice. If Cheyenne wants a divorce, she can tell me to my face. She's the only one who has that right. Not you or anybody else. A few relatives scoffed at his tone, but Seth stood up slowly, clapping once like he was watching a comedy show. "So you're the husband," Seth said, looking him up and down like he was inspecting cheap merchandise. "What exactly have you been doing all these years, begging on the streets?" Lucas didn't react. "Just getting by," he replied simply. Seth laughed. "Getting by, that's generous. Let me make this easy for you." He pulled out a check and flicked it between his fingers. $30,000. It should be enough to keep you afloat for a few years. Take the money and get out of Cheyenne's life. Karen and the relatives watched eagerly, waiting to see him grab it like a starving dog. Lucas reached out and took the check as the rest of them watched him with pure contempt. "See, he's just after the money," a relative sneered. "A loser is always a loser. You've probably never even seen that much money in your entire life, have you?" Another one scoffed, before a sharp ripping sound cut through the air, making everyone stop their taunts. He looked straight at Seth. "Seth Miller," Lucas said quietly, "you're an outsider. Stay out of my marriage. This is my family's business." Seth's jaw tightened. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that, especially not someone he considered beneath him. His eyes darkened, and he took a step forward as if ready to put Lucas in his place. But before he could take another breath, the front door swung open. "What's happening here?" Lucas went still, like the ground had vanished beneath his feet. That voice had lived in his memories for 6 long years. He had imagined her anger, her tears, her smile. But now that she was actually here, he couldn't move. He didn't even turn around. He had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in his head. Yet standing here, he suddenly had no idea what to say. Cheyenne stepped inside, her gaze landing on the crowd around Seth Miller. She didn't even notice Lucas at first, her brows furrowed in irritation. Seth's presence alone was enough to sour her mood. "Why are you here, Seth?" she said sharply. "I told you I'm not interested." "Stop coming here uninvited." Karen's face twisted with annoyance. "Watch your mouth, girl. Don't talk to Mr. Miller like that. And it's good that you're here. We can finally get a divorce and throw this worthless parasite out." Cheyenne blinked. "What divorce? What are you saying?" Before she could finish, a small voice cut through the tension. "Daddy, you came!" The little girl ran past the crowd and wrapped her arms around Lucas's leg like it was the most natural thing in the world. Lucas slowly knelt, his hand trembling slightly as he touched her hair. She was the same girl he had left at the mall. He studied her face, those eyes, that expression. The more he looked at her, the more she resembled Cheyenne. His breath caught. A thought hit him hard. Could this girl really be his daughter? He held her close, gently, protectively. A warmth burst in his chest, fierce and overwhelming, before he slowly stood and turned. Cheyenne's world seemed to stop. Her eyes landed on him, the man who vanished without a word. He stood taller now. His strong shoulders and sharper face made him look mature. He looked like someone who had fought battles most people couldn't even imagine. For a split second, emotion flickered in her eyes, but then her face went cold. "So," she said, her voice steady but laced with anger, "you finally decided to crawl back." She looked at him straight. "Why are you here?" Her eyes were cold, filled with years of bitterness as she stared at Lucas. Instantly, her mind reeled back to 6 years ago. One night in a hotel room destroyed her life. A scandal erupted like wildfire. Was this planned? Is there a secret business deal that made you do this? Lucas Gray, how much did she pay you for the night? The reporters launched a number of questions, but all Cheyenne could think about was her company and her image. Business tycoon Cheyenne Carter was found having an affair with her driver. The journalist on the TV yelled, and this was the juiciest gossip she'd ever heard of. She watched her company crumble piece by piece. "We have to do some damage control. Bring that driver in." William had asked the house help, and at that time, Cheyenne wanted to put all the blame on Lucas.
You two will get married tomorrow. Be ready at 9 in the morning, William ordered. Dad, how can you do this to me? She had cried. Shut up! You have ruined the legacy of our family. Every news channel is tearing us apart. What do you expect me to do? Her father lashed, but she couldn't understand how any of this became her fault. Yet Cheyenne had accepted it. She thought she could at least make it work with dignity. But just days after the wedding, Lucas vanished. Her parents told her that Lucas stole $50,000 from her father and ran away like a coward. She had no other option but to believe them. And to make everything worse, she found out she was pregnant. Her company collapsed through one crisis after another, so much so that she had to hand it over to her grandfather. Every time she remembered it, she could taste the same old pain. The betrayal, the shame, the helplessness. She hated him. Truly hated him. What did I ever do to you, Lucas? Why did you ruin my life like that? Lucas didn't speak right away. Leaving her had destroyed him too, but that didn't matter now. His apology would mean nothing to her. I'm sorry. The words were weak, even to his own ears. The little girl in his arms felt the tension. She clung to him tighter, her tiny voice trembling. Mommy, please don't be mad at Daddy. Cheyenne shut her eyes. She couldn't break in front of her daughter. She forced herself to breathe. Why did you leave? Her voice was steady, but he could hear the wound underneath. Because I wanted to be someone worthy of being your husband, Lucas said immediately. That was his truth. He had left to become someone better, but he knew the way he did it was unforgivable. Cheyenne let out a harsh laugh. Is that what you tell yourself at night? What about the money you stole from my father? Lucas looked genuinely confused. What money? Karen stepped forward, her voice sharp and dripping with disgust. Don't you dare play innocent. You were a nobody when we took you in. We let you marry into our family, gave you food, a roof, a name, and in return, you robbed us like a cheap thief and disappeared. Lucas's jaw tightened. I borrowed $50,000 from William, yes, but I returned it that same night. Liar! Karen snapped. You stole it. End of story. Lucas looked straight at Cheyenne's parents. If I really stole from you, why didn't you go to the police? Karen and William stuttered. His gaze was steady, and after years in the military, there was a cold authority around him that made it hard for them to speak. William cleared his throat, trying to stay firm. We didn't want the world to know our daughter married garbage. Lucas scoffed. No, you framed me and fed lies into your daughter's mind, so she hates me, right? Because that would give you the power to manipulate her according to your wish. See, Cheyenne watched her parents' reactions. For years, they had fed her the same lie that Lucas had stolen money and run away. But seeing them squirm now, a seed of doubt was planted in her mind. Was it possible that he really didn't steal the money and leave? Karen, angered by the silence, pushed Lucas hard. Get out of our house! You don't belong here! Lucas stumbled slightly, and Amelia gasped, her arms tightening around his neck. No, don't send Daddy away, please! She cried, her voice cracking in fear. Karen's face twisted. Shut up, you little brat! Cry one more time and I'll lock you back in the attic. The scared little girl trembled, letting out a little burp between sobs. She didn't dare make another sound. Judging by her reaction, she must have been locked in the attic before. Anger boiled inside him. Lucas shot a death glare at everyone in the room. But before it could explode, Cheyenne took Amelia from his arms and held her close. Mom, she's your granddaughter. How can you even say that to her? Karen snapped back. Then control that unwanted child of yours before she ruins our reputation even more. She clings to that man like he's someone worth having. Lucas's fists clenched. If this was how they spoke in front of everyone, what did Amelia go through when no one was watching? Just then, Seth, who had been standing there, watching it all, spoke. His voice was calm but cruel. I don't know why I bothered showing respect. I stood here because I cared for Cheyenne, but clearly, I don't belong among people this dirty. His words struck William and Karen like a slap. They had been hoping to tie their daughter to a rich man like Seth. Their future depended on it. William stepped forward quickly. Seth, wait. Don't take this to your heart. Cheyenne will marry you. Dad! Cheyenne's eyes widened. Shut your mouth! William barked at her, and Amelia flinched in her arms, pressing her face against her mother's shoulder. Seth didn't look back.
He left. Meanwhile, Cheyenne called for their house help and asked her to take Amelia to her room.
Karen then clicked her tongue and said, "Now that the filthy child is gone, both of you come with us." William grabbed Cheyenne's arm and dragged her inside. Lucas followed, silently. William sat on his armchair as he began speaking. "Let's not pretend here," he said bluntly. "You were forced into marriage. You never loved each other. Do you have any idea how pathetic Cheyenne's life became after you ran away like a dog? You brought nothing but shame and misery into this family. You're a burden, a parasite. Sign the divorce papers and get out." Wait. Lucas didn't flinch. "I can't justify what I did," he began calmly. "But I can choose what I do from this moment on. I'll give them a real family. I'll stay and do right by them." Karen stepped in like poison, lips curled with disgust. "Do right? You! The man who abandoned his wife right after the wedding and left her pregnant and humiliated." Lucas stood still, every word hitting him deeper than any bullet he'd ever faced. Back then, he had thrown himself into military service just to become worthy of her. What he didn't know was that she had been carrying his child. Cheyenne covered her mouth, tears rolling down uncontrollably. He had dreamed of her on the worst days, in the darkest hours. She was his motivation, the person he'd fallen deeply in love with without even realizing it. But now, seeing her in so much pain, he thought maybe letting her go was the only way he could stop ruining her life. He looked at her, eyes heavy with everything he couldn't say, and then softly said, "Let's get a divorce." Cheyenne froze. Then her hand moved before she could think, and slapped Lucas hard across his face. Her voice shook with pain and rage. "You left when you had no obligation, and I swallowed that. But now you know you have a daughter, and you still want to leave?" Her voice broke, but her anger held firm. "You're still the same coward. You want to run again? Fine. Go. Get out just like last time. And don't you dare show your face again here." She screamed the last words, like she had been holding them for 6 exhausting years. Lucas didn't think. He just pulled her into his arms. "I'm sorry, Cheyenne. I'm so sorry. I won't leave if you don't want me to. I want you and our daughter to live a happy life." Lucas gently rubbed Cheyenne's trembling back and promised. "No!" Karen shrieked, shoving at them like she was watching a disaster unfold. She darted forward, clutching Cheyenne's wrist. "Are you out of your mind? Seth Miller was your only ticket to a better life. He is connected to Orion Global. Do you understand what that means? That company can change everything for you. What can this broke piece of trash offer?" The moment she said Orion Global, something flickered in Lucas's eyes. So that was it. They wanted attention from the company whose board had been waiting for Lucas to come home and take control. He almost laughed. He had come here to tell the Carters the truth about him, about his social status, to make amends. But looking at their greed, a plan formed in his mind. Now he wanted to watch how low the Carters could stoop to get the Orion Global to notice them. Cheyenne straightened her shoulders. "I'm not marrying Seth Miller to fix my company. My daughter deserves her father." Karen scoffed. "Seth can be her father. A much better one than this disgrace." Cheyenne didn't even let her finish. "No, he can't. Not when her real father is standing right here." Karen's mouth opened to argue, but Cheyenne's tone was final. "This conversation is over. I'm not marrying Seth. William lost whatever patience he had left. He shoved Lucas with pure hatred. Get the hell out. The moment you came back, everything fell apart again. Get out, right now." Lucas stumbled back, but he didn't stop smiling, because Cheyenne had just chosen him, and that single choice was worth more than every insult thrown at him. The next day, Lucas pulled up to the Orion Global office tower. Lucas's jaw tightened as he promised, "One day, I'll walk into the Hutton mansion, not as the abandoned son, but as the man they'll beg mercy from." He pulled out his phone and dialed a number he had kept untouched for years. The call barely rang once. "Hello?" Lucas's voice held quiet command. "Kennedy, I'm standing in front of Orion Global." There was a brief pause before Kennedy smiled to himself. "I knew you were meant to lead this empire," Kennedy said. "I'll make the arrangements immediately. From this moment on, Orion is yours." "Welcome home, Lucas." The call ended. Not even a full minute passed before the glass doors slid open, and Flynn Davis, the acting manager of Orion Global, appeared in a rush. But instead of respect, there was annoyance in his eyes, like he had been dragged out for something beneath him. "So you're the so-called new chairman?" Flynn asked, his tone dripping with disbelief. His eyes swept over Lucas's simple clothes with open mockery. "Right. Follow me then." Lucas didn't react. He simply walked beside him, calm as still water. As they moved through the main lobby, whispers rippled across the floor. Employees paused what they were doing, heads turning, trying to take a better look. Up the executive elevator, they went to the topmost floor, only the highest authority could access. Flynn tapped his card, and the doors to the chairman's office slid open. Flynn turned to Lucas with a thin, mocking smile. "Well, Chairman," he said, "welcome to your throne. I know this must be a little too fancy for your comfort, but we'll make you feel at home." Lucas stepped inside without a word. He barely spared Davis a glance, but he could see clearly that the man was trying to belittle him, testing boundaries. But Lucas didn't care. He wasn't here to win anyone's approval. He was here to take control. Being chairman of Orion meant that he had power, and right now he intended to use every bit of it. "That's fine, Davis, but I need information. Tell me everything about this company that you think might help me," Lucas said, taking the couch like the boss he was. Davis's jaw tightened. He had run this company freely for years, without anyone above him. And now, out of nowhere, someone he considered a nobody was giving him orders? He forced a smile. "That's quite a lot to cover right now. I'll have a full report sent in an hour, and then we can take it from there." But Lucas interrupted him. "Did I stutter, Davis?" That one line hit like a slap. The fake smile disappeared from Davis's face. Lucas leaned forward slightly, voice calm but cutting. "Let me make one thing very clear to you. You don't get to run this company like it's your playground, least of all while you're laundering money." For a second, Davis stood frozen. "Laundering money?" His face went pale. Lucas smirked. "It's true I haven't been around, but I never stopped watching. I know what you've been doing. Now give me the damn report, or you won't just lose your job. You'll lose everything you think protects you." Davis swallowed hard. "Yes, sir. Right away." He rushed to call his assistant, and within 20 minutes, he was sitting across from Lucas, going through company matters. He talked about the new investment deal Orion had just released to the market. Lucas listened, then asked, "Has Brilliance Corporation reached out regarding this deal?" "Yes," Davis replied. "They've been persistent, but it's not the right direction for us. They're a small company, and with their scandalous history, we blacklisted them." Lucas was silent for a moment, then said plainly, "Remove them from the blacklist." Davis hesitated. "But sir..." Lucas looked at him, and that was enough. Davis nodded quickly. "I'll have it done." "Good," Lucas said. "As for that scandal you just mentioned, I want every piece of information tied to it. Keep it private. Report only to me. And while you're at it, look into the Carter family. I want every record, every rumor, every accusation ever associated with them." Davis stiffened but nodded like an obedient student. "Understood." He left the room quietly. Later that night, the Carters gathered for their usual family dinner. The room went dead silent as Dominic Carter entered. He was the man nobody dared to question in the family. Everyone at the table stood to greet him. As Dominic sat, he began, "As you all know, Orion Global has just announced its investment program for Orange County businesses. Orion is backed by the Huttons, the most powerful family in the county. I'm sure you all know the kind of power we can wield if we could get this deal." The table nodded along. "So here's my offer. I will hand over Brilliance Corporation to whoever manages to land a partnership deal with Orion Global. Does anybody want to volunteer?" Cheyenne's eyes sparkled. This was her chance to win back her company. Just as she got ready to volunteer, Bryce, her cruel and snake of a cousin, cut through first. "I'll do it, Grandpa!" Dominic flashed a satisfied smile. "But I'm afraid the Carters alone can't attract a deal this huge. We still fall among the lower side of the social scale. I suggest we partner up with an affluent family who can help us reach our goal," Bryce said as Dominic thought for a while. "That's a smart plan, Bryce. Who do you think we should partner with?" Dominic asked. All eyes turned to Bryce, and he slowly, deliberately, fixed Cheyenne with that weird, malicious smile, as if he already had his answer in mind. Bryce pointed straight at Cheyenne and smiled like he'd just dealt the winning card. Seth Miller from JW Corporation has been chasing Cheyenne. Yesterday, he told us straight that if Cheyenne marries him, the Millers will seal the deal with us. And I believe marriage ties are stronger than any contract. He grinned, proud of his little scheme. Color drained from Cheyenne's face. She jumped up. No! Karen tried to drag Cheyenne down, hissing, "Stop making a scene. Look how you're upsetting Grandpa." Bryce lounged back, enjoying the chaos. Cheyenne fought for control. "Grandpa, I want this deal as much as anyone, but this is not the way to go about it." "What's the problem?" "It's a win for everybody. Carters get the Orion deal, while that daughter of yours gets a father." "At least that would save us some shame." Dominic pointed at Amelia, making a face like she was some kind of worm. Cheyenne was at a loss for words. She couldn't believe her own family was conspiring against her and wanted to get rid of her so eagerly, when a tiny voice cut through the silence. "I don't want Seth as my daddy." All eyes settled on little Amelia. "I want my daddy." "What did you say?" Dominic's voice turned hoarse as Cheyenne held her daughter close. Cheyenne knew if Amelia spoke a word, her grandfather wouldn't let her live. "Baby, don't speak between elders. Mommy is handling it." "But," Amelia fussed again. "I don't want Seth. I want my daddy." Dominic stood up from his chair and walked towards Amelia before crouching down in front of her. "You don't like Seth Miller, little girl?" he asked, while Amelia shook her head. "Okay, you don't need to see Mommy get married to him then," he said, and picked Amelia from her chair. Cheyenne's heart hammered. She knew what was going to happen. "Grandpa, please. She is just a kid. I'll do as you say, but Dominic was already striding towards the attic to lock up Amelia, because that's how the Carters punish the little girl every now and then. In a few seconds, Amelia understood what was happening as she began crying, calling for her mommy. Cheyenne ran behind Dominic, begging for mercy, but he wasn't listening. Right then, the dining room door slammed open, and Lucas strode in, followed by Davis. Hope flared in Cheyenne's eyes, but then she froze at the look on his face. He was not in his usual calm self. He looked so angry that he could probably kill somebody right now. He went and took Amelia from Dominic. "Don't you dare touch my daughter, Dominic Carter." Dominic was stunned. He never thought that anyone could ever dare to question him. Instantly, Bryce came from behind and said, "How dare you interfere in our family matters? Get lost, you scumbag. You belong in the streets. I kicked you out yesterday, and you still have the nerve to show up again?" William barked from the table. Lucas didn't speak. He looked at Cheyenne and nodded to come beside him. But just as she started to move, Bryce grabbed her wrist. "Where do you think you're going? You are the way to our Orion deal. Don't even think we'll let you go with this worthless beggar." Lucas gave his daughter to Davis and didn't bother warning before he hauled his hand back and threw a punch at Bryce. Chaos erupted at the dining table. Everybody got busy taking care of Bryce as Cheyenne quickly hid behind Lucas. "Consider this a warning." Lucas finally spoke. "If any of you dare to touch my wife or my daughter ever again, I'll cut y'all to pieces." "That's enough! Who do you think you're talking to?" Karen roared. "What power do you have to threaten us? We can kill you right away without anyone ever finding out. Just the way nobody ever found out how Cheyenne and I got drugged." Lucas's question shocked everyone, especially Dominic. "But guess what? You failed. I know every secret, every ugly truth you buried to protect your family name." That's when Dominic came and stood in front of him, fuming as he stared at Lucas. "And? Who is going to believe a nobody like you over the Carters?" "That is your mistake, Dominic Carter. You still think I'm a nobody. And now, you will see how well this nobody ruins all your lives. Who really drugged Lucas and Cheyenne that night? Will the Carters succeed in separating Lucas from his family again? How will the Carters react when Lucas finally reveals his real identity?"
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.